Hope you're well. We only have 2 people thus far, so we'll have to wait a bit for some others to join us. We have apologies from one colleague who can't join this afternoon.
Are you letting them in, Masaya? Jennifer, so nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Are you glad to be back?
Very glad to be back.
Are you having fun?
I've been waiting.
The whole week. The whole week for Thursday.
No, it starts like from Tuesday. The waiting starts from Tuesday, Wednesday, then on Thursday, like the whole morning and afternoon.
And then you're just getting so excited.
Yep. It's interesting.
Welcome to the others. Welcome, Milka. We missed you last week. Welcome, Kwame, Rahel.
Thank you. How are you,
Regan.
everyone?
Good, good.
Thank you, Ian.
Did my apology come through?
Yes, your apology did come through, Milka.
Oh, okay. No one really responded, so I was wondering if anyone had seen my email.
Sorry, we did note that, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we still wait for a few more people to join us before we get going. Yeah. Okay, I was about to, is that, Kanita, is it you sharing, is it? Okay, good. I was looking for it to share and then it popped up, which is great. How are you, Ray?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you very much. Thank you. How are you?
Good.
Okay, great.
And yeah. Kwame, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Ian. Thanks for asking. How are you also doing?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to today.
Yeah, sure am I. Good to see you.
Good.
Yeah. I left South Africa without saying goodbye. Forgive me.
Yeah. Yes, I forgot last week you were in the airport when you joined us, and
yes,
yeah,
I was.
So you traveled home safely, I assume.
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
That's good.
Thank you, and all the best for today.
Good. Yeah. All right. I think we are sitting at 4 minutes past. So I think that we should make a start. So welcome to today. Welcome to our 4th session in terms of this Facilitation for Learning course, and it's really good to have you back again. So today we are talking about boats collaborating for a journey. I am facilitating the session because we are missing 2 people today from our team, but critically we are missing Talita from our team, who was the lead on putting this unit together, but she's presenting at a conference in Australia and is physically in Australia. So different time zones, couldn't join us. So I'm holding the fort. And Mariki de Villiers is also not able to be with us today. Yeah, so the next slide. So our focus today is to look at collaboration in learning. So you can see the aim and outcomes there. around understanding power and hierarchy, the value of diversity, and strategies to facilitate collaborative learning. Next slide, please. So that is the outline for the session. We're going to do a lot of quite intense small group activity today, so just be ready for that and prepared for it. But just to get us going, think about where the last week, and just post a comment in the chat in terms of what have you particularly enjoyed in the last week, and or what new thing have you learned in the last week. Let's just hear from you. It might be related to the course or might be completely unrelated to this course that you might be something you enjoyed particularly or learned particularly in the last week. So let's see some things in the chat on that.
Sorry, just a clarity. When you say anything else, so is that like an open-ended question?
It's open, yeah. Was there something in this week that stood out for you that you enjoyed? And
Oh, okay. All right.
is it just me, or is there nothing in the chat yet?
It's empty. We're typing.
Okay. Different individual approaches to interactive engagement. Okay, so Malka joined a new collaborative group. That's great. That was developing a proposal. Applying active listening, engaging learners with the W question. That's great. So you were applying something that we discussed last week, and looks like Kwame has also picked that up in terms of the why question. And yeah, Celebalo as well. So it's great to hear about some of you been applying some of the things that you learned. Yeah, the circus I attended is just amazing in terms of how people worked together and trusted each other. And I mean, we were reflecting with a colleague who I went with about how, there must be interpersonal things happening in the group. I mean, it's a group of young people and so on, but when they're on the stage together, they have to put that aside and be, completely reliant on and trusting in each other, which was quite interesting. Jennifer, last week I learned to listen actively, and Shagan learned something new about engagement. Again, Jennifer enjoyed the 3Y activity, learned to pay more attention. Learning to listen feels like a lifelong learning journey, indeed. Okay, so today we are focusing on collaboration and enabling others, and really our discussion is around it's easy to talk about collaboration, but what does it actually mean in terms of how do we work with other people in a group? How do we deal with differences, diversity, hierarchy, etc., and have some of the difficult discussions that we need to have in order to get a group collaborating. So if we can move on to the next slide, please, Kanita. So you were asked in your groups of 4, the same groups that you are going to be in now, you were asked to review materials that are on the LMS. You were asked to decide as a group how you were going to do that, whether everyone was going to do everything or each person would take one and you'd share it. And those are the resources that you were given on the LMS. Next slide, please. And so now in small groups, we're going to go to small groups. And in your small group, discuss what was your process for how you worked out who was going to read or watch what in the group. How did you communicate in terms of this preparation? And then what did you learn from the process? What did you learn from the readings or the video that you watched, and share that learning? There are other questions that might arise in terms of what you did or didn't do from that activity, in terms of how your collaboration was as a group, or what blocked you from collaborating, or what commitments can you make in terms of that. So we're going to go now into the groups to have that discussion, and then we'll come back after that discussion into the main room as well. So Winifred, can you give us 12 minutes for this, put us into groups for 12 minutes, please?
Okay.
So we'll see you on the other side in the groups. I just realized I'm on mute. It puts you on mute immediately when you come back. So it seems to be only our group that came back. Oh, everyone's coming now. I was a bit confused for a moment because it was only our group that came back. We seem to come ahead of the others. So yeah. Anyway, I hope you had some good discussions around that. We're not going to spend time on that because we want to get on to something that's very important. And if you can just share the next slide, please, Kanita. So this activity is about collaborating and actually builds on what is in the video in terms of people writing together. So you're going to have a task of actually writing together in your groups. The aim of this activity is to create a scenario that relies on collaboration. Each group should have at least 4 members, but unfortunately today we might, certainly my group, we have 3 and myself, but anyway, that's hopefully enough. One person must be the observer and the other members do the activity. So all you've got to decide is who's the observer, and the others in the group then carry on and do the activity, and the observer watches. And the observer, you've got a very important role. You should make notes. And your role is to say, what do you observe? What roles do people play? What do you learn from it? So you're the one as the observer who steps aside and reflects. What is the activity? Let's go on to the next slide. So the activity is each of us is going to do a Miro board. Your group facilitator has a link which they will share with you to the Miro board for your group. Don't worry about the group numbers. They've linked to the facilitators, know which ones they are, and they'll share that link. Your task is, as the group then, is to write a story of the journey towards becoming a master collaborator. And you'll see there are spaces on the Miro board for you to fill this in. So what you need to do is to agree very briefly and quickly on what are the attributes of a master collaborator, and then create a story together about collaborating in teams, which illustrates becoming a master collaborator. Maybe experience somebody has had in the group that you want to document. It should be a very brief story. You know, just really a paragraph in each of the 3 boxes that you will see on the Miro board. The 3 boxes are the beginning of the story. We know that's the trigger event, what happened. Then the middle, what was the discovery that happened through this, and the end, and what is the change that occurred. So you're talking about a journey in collaboration. So you describe experience, and together you evolve that story, and people can add or suggest how you should change the story. But in total, not more than 200 words maximum in terms of across those boxes. At the end, we will ask each group to come back and to share their story in the main group from the Miro board. Is that clear to everybody? Are there any questions?
And do you want to just summarize what the observer does? I mean, you've said what they do, but what do they do with what they've done?
So what you do as the observer, you just hold on to that. We're going to come back later to another session where you will give a chance to reflect on what you saw happening. So in this session as the observer, you are just quiet and watching and making notes. Thanks, Julia. All right. Thanks, everyone. You're going to get a good long chunk of time for this. If we can make it, Winifred, if we can make it 20 minutes for this session, please. Let's go into the groups. Why are you shaking your head?
Because we didn't have time to finish our story.
Ah, okay. Is that why you're shaking your head? Sorry for that. Yeah. So let's the idea now. Maybe you can just show the slide again, Kanita, is that each group should just share their story very briefly. We don't need to hear the whole story, but your facilitator will show the slide of the Miro board, and then you will just talk about what is the main theme that comes from your story. It's the next slide, Anita. Yeah, so what was the main theme of the story? The details we don't need to know, it's just the main theme, and your facilitator can show your Miro board, and then we'll get at that. Yeah, so Jackie's group, do you want to go first? You're on mute.
Sure. I have to find it. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay.
It's a bit small. Maybe you can increase the bottom right. You can increase the size. Okay. Great.
It was going to give feedback.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Are you there?
Yeah, hello. So the feedback from our discussion from the group, we were discussing on what has actually challenged about collaborative activities we had in the past. With this, we had a problem of effective collaboration with the activities we assigned on earlier. Just what was the problem? The problem raised among the members was we were busy and we were not able to communicate effectively. Communication was the big barrier among this member. Since we don't share the responsibilities, activities we had, and we're not able to make it the activities effectively. So had it been, when it comes to solution, had it been a leader or collaborator, I mean coordinator was assigned, it could have been nice to share responsibilities, assign roles and others, and so that everyone will work on that effectively, and we could have been in a better position. Otherwise, we were just doing individually, and it was not effective means of collaboration. So leadership, communication are important in these activities, but the facilitator was challenging that leadership is really important for collaborative work, and the members were also reflecting that health work is a teamwork, so everybody has its own role, but there should be a leader by any cost, and so this was something that we're discussing here.
Great, thank you. Okay, I'm in a situation where my power might go at 4 o'clock, which is 4 o'clock South African time, just to warn you. So if I disappear, one of my colleagues must please just take over for a bit, like Kanita, perhaps. So maybe I'm going to share my group next, so that in case I do disappear, we have gone. So I'm going to share my screen, and Eskadar will speak to that. There you have it.
Okay, so actually I want to say that the group prior to us was smart enough to take the actual collaboration taken from the training and then seeing what problems arise from there. And so what we did was I was just talking about my experience in research project and the experience from that, what happened, and what did I discover, what would I change for the future. And it was just a group of different professionals coming to collaborate on a research idea. And what you can see is that we discovered that we have different ideas on to see on to reach the goal of having a perfect proposal to actually see the safety of water around our city. So we had different people and we had different ideas, but we were able to communicate well and divide the thematic research into sub-thematic researches and make one good research which we learn from. And as you can see that working together, it made us divide and then conquer our problem. And what changes, we have now different views for our professions. We each learned from each other, from each way of thinking. And Celebalo from our group was asking maybe there was a difference in our experience and also our expertise. Experience meaning the amount of time that we have on done on research. So I said that I was the most junior one. Yes, I've learned a lot. And so that was a good part of the collaboration. And the other thing is knowing the other profession beforehand. That's what I learned. So when you meet a collaborator, first try to see their background first. So what I learned was to see someone's background before meeting them so that we could have a good communication. And also it would also save time because I had a long time understanding what the economist's role was in this actual research process. So good collaboration needs open-mindedness and also learning from each other. And we should be like this all the time.
Great. Thanks, Eskara. Lovely. Okay, Kanita.
Okay. I'm going to ask Jennifer, who did we decide on is going to be the spokesperson?
Selena.
Wasn't it Selena?
Lena,
Yes,
thank you.
Selena.
You ready?
Yes, I am. Thank you and good afternoon. What we learned in this group is that there were students from different training background who wanted to do a national project, and then now they needed somebody to assist them as a mentor. So they approached one of us to be the supervisor or the mentor of the program. And this was to be done prior the course started, the course that had to do with the research that needed to be done. So that's when now they had to approach the person to be their supervisor or their mentor. And then what was discovered is that the team had to come up with form a group, and then they they decided on task sharing. They distributed work among themselves, and there were continuous feedback. And that again, it was learned that what's going on here? Okay, now the supervisor had to be available to oversee the project, and then the plan on what to do, when to do, and then the whole group was finally formulated so that the project can go on smoothly after a time spent on sharing of ideas and how to get around with the project. And what changed and how will things be done differently? What changed in this team is that we realized that there were a drafting of the schedule, setting of objectives, and making sure that there are timelines set and there are role clarifications, who does what, and that there was a culture of respect developed as they in the process of sharing the ideas, and that now they identified the need to develop SOPs and the need for developing the monitoring and evaluation tool to ensure that the project achieves its objectives. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks, Selena. Julia's group. You're on mute.
I don't know who's going to tell the story. As you can see, it's very short.
Okay, I can tell the story.
Thank you,
As
Kwame.
best as I- Yeah, sure. Thank you. So we, this was a story about a call for a grant. 5 people were put together to write it. There were timelines. We're meeting twice a week. Unfortunately, 2 of them showed some lack of commitment in terms of meeting timelines and then writing, making their inputs into the proposal.
I don't know if anybody else has lost Kwame.
Yeah, no, he's Kwame is still there. We can't hear you.
Ray, do you want to continue? Oh, there's Kwame's
Kwame.
back. Kwame's back. Sorry. Yep.
Oh, sorry, you lost me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So we realized that 2 others were not showing as much commitment by meeting timelines and then making inputs into the proposal. And the other 3 tolerated them because we needed their expertise and their names were already on the grant call. And then when we tolerated them and then made up for their weakness, we were able to win the grant and ultimately achieve the goals. So what changed? How will we do things differently? Is the fact that we will screen partners when it comes to collaboration, and then we'll spell out clearly what the expectations of each member of the group should be. So this is what we discussed. This is the story. Thank you.
Kwame.
Thanks, Kwame. Thanks. You can stop sharing. Thanks. Can we have the slides back then, please, Kanita? So now we are going to go back into your groups, and this is where the observer, if you had an observer, comes into play, but otherwise everyone can just reflect on this together. What did you observe in this process with the Writing the Master Collaborator story? How did the group process work? How were they functioning? What did the group do to adapt? The instructions weren't totally clear. There was some uncertainty, perhaps. How did you deal with that? And what did you learn that can help you to create collaboration in small groups? And please choose somebody who will just at the end give one lesson that you've learned to the big group. So yeah, we took a bit longer with the previous report back, so I'm going to give us 10 minutes, please, Winifred, for this exercise, if you can do it in 10 minutes. Welcome back. I hope you had some good discussions, and I hope you've each chosen one person who will just report back one lesson. That's all we're going to have time for, is one lesson from your group. So
I just want to say some lessons are longer than others, but it's still one lesson.
yeah, it can be one. Sure. So with that, we'll start with your group, Julia.
Oh, fabulous. Ray, the floor is yours.
You're on mute.
Ray, your microphone
you're
is on
mute.
mute. Ray.
Okay. So, I was saying you just want one pointer, so I'm just going to make one sentence. I think that's what you want for time. So what I learned, and my colleagues also learned, was that in the collaboration effort that we tried to do, that the person who leads it was able to change the direction of the discussion and the flow and the events that were taking place. And that led to the successful involvement of all of us as partners, as we were given equal sharing of the time and exposure and allowed to make contributions. And as a collective effort, we were able to understand and appreciate the story. And I think taking the lesson from that is that we should not be in control all the time. We should, open up the floors, allow everybody to come in, because at the end of it, when you synthesize everybody's contribution, you have a successful collaboration. So that was, if you're asking for just one thing, that's what I picked up from that meeting.
Thanks, Ray. Masterfully done.
I said two things, I think.
Yeah. And you didn't even pause for breath in that sentence.
I'm
Right,
panting
thank
now.
you. All right,
Thank you.
good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ray. So yeah, let's move on. Kanita, your group, who's reporting?
Okay, Selena, you can go ahead.
Thank you. At least it's not a sentence. We learned that in a group, it is not easy to adapt to one another at the beginning, and that there's a need for a leader to initiate or to sacrifice oneself to initiate what needs to be done and to steer the process, and that other members to feel comfortable in a group. It is important that now there's always who led is available to give support on what has been done, and that now after a prolonged engagement of the members get relaxed and feel safe to be able to share with each other. And the issue of time, of knowing each other, is very much important. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Selena. Jackie's group?
Rahel was nominated at the last second. She didn't agree, but
she didn't disagree either.
Yeah, Rahel, are you there?
Okay. Okay, thanks. We have discussed in our group in a collaboration. It's important to have a leader to guide the group together, and it's also important to share responsibilities and duties for each team member, and every team member is expected to be committed for each activity. And the other issue is we will have expected to have a plan for all activities that will be carried out in a team. So these issues were that was discussed in our group. And that was it. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Rahel. And then Celebalo from my group.
Thank you very much. One of what we learned in our group is that we should make a room for everybody to make a contribution regardless of the level of knowledge or skills or whatever. And we have to accept everybody's contribution. And in the process, the important thing that we marked and learned there is that we need to create different lines of communication or ways of communication with other members. Like in our group, we lost a member because she couldn't hear the audio, but she could type. So those are some of the things that we need to be aware of, creating different lines of communication where each member can make a contribution. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Celebalo. Sounds like there were some rich discussions that everybody had there. We can have the slides back, please, Kanita. And I hope you've been, no, let me not jump to that. Yeah, so we're now going to do our usual sharing on a Word document that Kanita has put the link in the chat. And the document will come up. And what we're asking this time is for you to think about this session and say, what surprised you? What surprised me in this session? And what worked for me that I want to repeat in another group session? You can answer either of those or both of those. What surprised me and what worked for me? So let's move to the shared document. Are you going to share that, Kanita?
Doesn't need to be shared, yeah.
Okay. You want to wait?
I will play the music while everybody types.
Okay. Sorry, thanks.
Sorry, the music doesn't want to play.
It's fine. So lots of people are surprised by things. What about things that you will definitely, or that you'll want to use and repeat in another group session? Yeah, it's great to see. I mean, the people, the stories that people came up with, and were able to do that in the time. We are running out of time, so please carry on adding to this as we finish. Yeah, don't stop there and please go back to it. But if we can have the next slide, please, Kanita. So as usual, there is a post-session activity that we want in you to reflect on the session afterwards. Yeah, there are resources there that you can go to, which are basically the ones that were the prep reading. But what we're asking you to do is to write in your own journal and where you feel free to share in the discussion forum about what did you see happening? What did you learn? Then, so what does this imply for you in terms of collaboration? And now what will you do in terms of this? So it's the what, so what, now what that we've been using, and to reflect on that. And we haven't specifically drawn your attention back to those readings as we have had the discussions, but assuming you will pick them up or have been picking up in your discussions. And if you haven't, maybe you can go back and look at those readings that were preparation and think about them as you look at this what, so what, now what, and what that says to you as you reflect on what we did in this unit today. Next slide, please, Kanita. So the next unit next week is about practicing facilitation. So it's getting going, launching your boat. You have to take a risk. You've got to trust that your boat floats and you're going to move. So what we're asking you to do is to prepare a story before next week that can be used as we practice facilitation. So we want you to think about an experience that you had of being part of a group discussion and write a story. About 200 words, no more than that. It should be something that somebody else can read in 1 to 2 minutes. So really quite a short story that just, or description of an experience that you had. And be ready to present that story in the next unit session. So as you think about the story, think about, where was it? What was the context? Who was involved? What was the focus of the discussion? What actually happened? Is there some particular incident that you remember that brings this story to your attention? What role were you playing? Were you a facilitator? Were you a group participant? It could be anything. And what happened at the end? And then what? So it's really something that you remember about a small group discussion that illustrates something around facilitation, strengths or weaknesses, challenges, difficulties, interests, whatever. So we want you to prepare that and be ready with that next time. So the entire focus of next time's unit, the session next time, is going to be on practicing. So that's what we'll do most of the time. Each of you, we hope, will get a chance to practice facilitation. And I think where this quote actually comes from, no one knows. It is used often. It's often described as an African proverb, but it's unclear where it came from, but I'm sure you've heard it. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that is what collaboration is about. And I'm guessing the last one is to remind us to take a picture. So please, can you put your videos on, and we will ask Winifred to take a picture for us. So put your best face forward and your best smile forward, and be ready for a picture. Just waiting for Eskadar and Bahiru. There's Bahiru, Eskadar. You're not joining us for the picture. Yeah, okay. Looks like this is going to be us. So Winifred, are you managing to take that? Just give me a sign you've done it. Okay, good. Thanks, everybody. See you next time. Have a good afternoon and evening.
Thanks, everyone.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Enjoy your
Bye
week.
bye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.